In a small and rather confused corner of the universe, a rabbi found himself facing a bear. This was not, as many would assume, a metaphor, but an actual bear. Large, brown, and entirely uninterested in theology. The rabbi, having misplaced both his sense of self-preservation and his afternoon tea, decided the most logical course of action was to put on a pair of boxing gloves. He reasoned, incorrectly but with admirable confidence, that all creatures respect a solid right hook. The monk, meanwhile, stood nearby, documenting the entire affair on his phone, which was, naturally, on low battery, and constantly suggesting he upgrade his cloud storage. The bear, for his part, was simply trying to understand why two bipedal mammals in robes and hats had interrupted what had been, up until that point, a perfectly good day of not punching anyone. Somewhere in the cosmos, an omniscient narrator sighed and updated the probability index for interfaith wildlife boxing match from impossible to mildly concerning. And thus balance was restored to the universe, albeit very slightly off-center and wearing red gloves.
Rabbi, Friar, walking to gripe and jest and moan again. The bear growls low, the world's gone fake. I canceled Netflix for my sake. What the fuck is going on here? We may not know, but still we cheer. Raise your voice, your glass, your brow, because the Frock is happening now. Their faith is gone, the scripts are weak, the jokes drag on, the rabbi nods, the plots are grim, they need more heart and less of him. The bear just shrugs, I'll hibernate until they fix the clickbait rate. They raise their mugs and toast the air to better jokes and fewer bears. So grab your frock and come aboard, this nonsense can't be ignored. We joke, we gripe, we spin, we sing while Rome burns on. We do our thing. What the fuck is going on here? We may not know, but still we cheer. Raise your voice, your glass, your brow, because the Frock is happening now.
Good morning, America. How are you? I'm Rabbi Dave, and no matter what you read in the papers in the next week, it was definitely self-defense.
And I am Friar Rod, and I can confirm and maybe deny that it was self-defense. I just don't.
Have you canceled Netflix yet?
No, I can't do that.
In case you missed it this week, and I don't know how you could have, you would have had to literally be under a rock somewhere. Cancel Netflix has become the number one trending hashtag.
Yeah,
I guess
something like that.
They call them now. I don't know if they changed the name or not. You know, it used to be tweets. Now they're what? X?
I have no idea. They're just X posts. I don't know. I have no idea.
So, at any rate, cancel Netflix has become the numero uno one because Elon Musk retweeted it. Now, what caused all this is there is apparently a show, near as I can tell, that is clearly aimed at children. It is a children's show on Netflix, and it features what can only best be described as the transgender agenda. It promotes transgenderism, it teaches transgenderism, it tells you how great transgenderism is. I've not watched the show, so I'm I'm just telling you what I've read, okay? So, and there's a reason why I haven't watched the show. And the reason that I haven't watched the show has nothing to do with the fact that it's about transgenderism. If I were a journalist, I would have to go watch the show to see what all the fuss was about. But I'm not technically a journalist, technically, even though what we do is technically journalism.
I guess, yeah.
Technically, I'm an opinion guy or an entertainer or whatever you want to call it. Whatever allows you to dismiss me with the most ease in your own. That's what. But this show,
Rabbi,
yes, because there are a lot of people out there that would dismiss me on that basis.
Yeah.
The FBI this week. Do you know? I don't even want to get into the whole ADL thing with the FBI because it's the Jews that were doing it. So anyway, point being that this Netflix show was problematic, and of course the conservative right got a hold of this on Twitter and turned this into a huge deal, with cancel Netflix being the leading hashtag. By the end of the week, Netflix had lost something like $15.4 billion worth of its
value.
Yeah. And of course, this just reinforced the whole thing of, well, cancel Netflix, cancel Netflix, cancel Netflix, which became even bigger over the weekend, I've seen. And now it's trending.
Yeah.
Okay. So some questions here.
Okay.
I have not seen the show. All I've read about is, I've read about it, but I haven't seen it. And again, there's a specific reason why I haven't seen it. But my question is a TV show like this actually grooming?
I think to an extent it is, but I don't think they're doing it purposefully to groom. I think it is the makers of this kind of stuff. It's their ideology. It's what their mentality is. And so they want to make something that represents them, right? So they do it, but they're not. Are they doing it for the explicit purpose to groom kids? I think that's the effect. I don't know if that's their intent. You have to know what their intent is. It's not like, it's not like Netflix is like a kids programming channel like Nickelodeon, who has seen their fair share of controversy.
Right.
So
now the name of the show is called Dead End Paranormal Park. It ran for 2 seasons from 2022 to 2023. It includes a main character who is named Barney Guffman, who is a gay trans teenage boy, which means technically he's a girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
The show was canceled in 2023. Now, the show was canceled, meaning that there haven't been any new episodes of it. That's read that, right? But of course, even though it was canceled, it's still on Netflix.
It could also be that even though it was canceled post-production, and they were still working on getting the last season out.
Could be. When it was canceled, the person responsible for this, whose name is Hamish Steele. Hamish Steele?
Hamish? I would have said Hamish, but...
Okay. Is this someone who grew up on Hunger Games novels? Because that's the only other place I've ever heard that name.
Braveheart.
I didn't see Braveheart, sorry.
You didn't see Braveheart?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Embarrassed to admit that, but it's true. I have never seen Braveheart. And the reason I never saw Braveheart was because I knew instantaneously it was not accurately historical.
It's a drama.
No interest in it. Which is weird because I did see The Patriot, which is also not historically accurate, but I love it. Anyway, so this person named Hamish Steele, who is the creator of the animated show, posted on social media that Netflix gave the gave the creative team the freedom to tell their story, and added that, quote, the powers that be don't want any more, unquote. Now, that would have been in 2023. Now, in 2025, this year, recently, October, which is now 5 days old, conservatives and figures like Elon Musk called to boycott Netflix over the show, and Hamish Steele then addressed the controversy on the platform Blue Sky, which, as we all know, is the Democrat version of Whining Central.
Yeah.
Claimed, quote, it's all lies and slander, refuting the accusations that Netflix was actively promoting the show to children. Said, quote, it's probably going to be a very odd day after Musk tweeted about the show. And stated that she was taking was taking a social media break after receiving, quote, extremely nasty, weird, homophobic, and anti-Semitic emails. On Blue Sky? I
thought they didn't allow that on Blue Sky.
That's, that's where I was kind of going with that. Isn't Blue Sky supposed to be like the Democrat safe space? Isn't that what that is?
It is. That's where J.D. Vance got kicked off the first day, his first post.
So why does Elon Musk get involved with all this? The first time I saw it was some of the conservatives on TikTok, who, by the way, I got to be honest with you, Rod, over the past probably 4 weeks, I have been slowly deleting more and more of them from my follow list.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't agree with them. It's just that I don't need 7 tweets saying the same thing. I just don't.
Yeah.
It just gets old.
They're really amplifying, is what they're trying to do, is amplify the message. So it's like, right. Okay.
And the problem is they're amplifying it to me, and I just don't care that much.
Yeah.
So why does Elon Musk get involved? That's the next question. What's Elon's involvement here?
Well, I mean, his stake is he's got the one transgender kid, right?
Yes, he does.
So, I mean, it's personal in that regard.
Personal in that regard. It is personal in the sense that, hey, you can see why it is. Now, does he believe that his child was influenced by this show? Is that part of the problem? Is that
I don't know. I think it's he's called it a mind virus too. It's a part of the whole woke mind virus, but I think he's just against that in general. And it is, we've talked about this before. It's a mental illness.
Oh, absolutely.
And so they're presenting this mental illness as normal, I think, is the problem.
Listen, you will get no argument from me on that. The normalization of what is clearly mental illness, in my view, is the problem.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have a problem with people being weird. I'm weird. Okay? No, nobody's going to argue that point from me. My son is weird.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to argue that from him. My wife, as Rod and I discussed off air, can be kind of weird, but in a good way. But at the same time, this idea of normalizing that is part of the problem. And I think that's been the biggest problem with the transgender agenda. To a lesser degree, this is exactly what the gay agenda did back, in the 90s and the 00s. This normalization of what is clearly mental illness is a problem. I don't personally care who you want to sleep with. I don't personally care what you want to wear. It doesn't matter. I go through this thing with what to call someone. Mm-hmm. Well, this is my name now. Okay, blue hair. That's if that's what you want to be called, fine. I don't care. The problem is, it's not about what I call you. It's what you want me to believe. You want to force me to believe that you're normal, and you're not. And that's the problem. And worse than that, your normality is ill. You are mentally ill. One look at your face with your 7 piercings in your tongue kind of gives that away. Mm-hmm. So then the question becomes whether or not this is actually part of an agenda or if it's just a societal I don't know. Somehow or another, it seems like I'm going through this with my son. My son is not transgender. My son doesn't do homework.
I'm glad you clarified that.
My son doesn't do homework. Okay. How do I handle that? Do I force him to do the homework? Yes.
Yeah.
Do I allow him to get away with not doing it? Well, if you allow him to get away with not doing it, what happens when it's time to actually do it? As a society, rather than saying, no, that's not normal, you can do it if you want, it's a free country, but you cannot claim that everyone else has to go along with it.
Yeah.
What happens when we allow that to happen? It's the same thing. And
it becomes authoritarian.
Yeah, becomes petulant children is what it does. And then how do you deal with it? Now you can't deal with it without massive stress and big arguments and having to shut off his internet.
And then you're microaggressing, Dave.
Right. Jeez, don't get me started on that. The bigger question, I suppose, then, is it effective? Is what Elon Musk and, well, let's look at it from both sides. Is their attempt to normalize this effective? And is whether or not the boycott, the cancel Netflix thing is effective? $15.4 billion is a lot of money.
Well, but the stock market does their knee-jerk reaction whenever there's a boycott, right? Especially with Elon and things coming out.
It's a stock market thing. This is an actual drop of $15.4 billion in value, right?
In subscribers?
Yeah, and on paper value because they've lost that many subscribers. So,
I don't know. We'll see over time because it's easy when your month is already prepaid to say, I'm going to cancel it.
Right.
Right. And when the month is up, does it stay canceled or do they just go ahead and return?
That raises an interesting question because $15.4 billion is a lot of money.
It is.
That's what they've lost in subscribers. Is that effective?
Well, let's see.
As it turns out, that is literally 2.4% of the total value of the company, which is just over $625 billion.
It's still, that is a lot. That's enough to influence newer productions.
It is, but is it enough to actually accomplish what these people are trying to accomplish, which is they basically want you to destroy Netflix.
Yeah.
Now, how effective is that going to be? Look, I've said this for 25 years. I'm not a huge fan of boycotts. I'm just not. There are a lot of people, and I will say this with love, there are a lot of people who work at Netflix who are normal, who are just like you and me. Mm-hmm. Because we're normal, right?
Hey, they had Dave Chappelle on.
They had Dave Chappelle. I love Dave Chappelle. You can watch Dave Chappelle for 10, 12 hours a day and never get tired of it.
Except for in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, well, that's true. They have other shows that I enjoy. They have movies that I want to watch. Smart ass. Anyway, the point of this whole thing being that boycotts don't necessarily hurt the people that you're aiming at. This person, Hamish, his show had already been canceled.
Yeah. So
the only thing they're getting is residuals. And at the same time, are you Streisand affecting this?
I think you are.
Now people who have never heard of this show who might have, I don't know, interest in that are going, oh, well, I'm going to go watch that because looky here. Here's something that might intrigue me. It happens. Mm-hmm. For years, I have avoided. Okay, this is one of those weird things about me.
Okay.
I like to do things that are socially popular.
Confession with Dave.
Right. So, for example, back in the 70s when everybody was reading The Hobbit, mm-hmm. I refused to read The Hobbit. Not because I didn't think it was good, not because I didn't think it was, but because everybody else was doing it too. Everybody in high school was carrying around a copy of the Hobbit. I said, screw that, I'm not doing that.
So if everyone was not jumping off the bridge, you would?
I would, yes.
Okay.
Tacoma Narrows Bridge, probably. So, inside joke, sorry. So it probably wasn't until the 80s when I read The Hobbit.
Okay.
I didn't see Star Wars, the first Star Wars, until 1982 because everybody was doing it. So I waited until everybody else was not doing it, and that's how you attract me to something, is don't make it socially popular. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And occasionally there are TV shows like that. For example, I spent the last month watching Parks and Rec, which I find hysterical. But I wouldn't watch it back when it was popular because everybody else was too.
Yeah. I haven't seen that or Big Bang Theory.
Well, see, now Big Bang Theory is the exception to the rule because it's about people like me. So anyway, point being of all this, that I think there's a Streisand effect here that is drawing people to this show and to Netflix as opposed to pushing them away. I have seen no data saying how many new subscribers Netflix has picked up. Now, if they're losing $2.5 or $15 billion, the implication would be that they're not gaining any new subscribers. There's certainly not enough to compensate for what they're losing.
I don't think there's enough in the trans community to offshift that.
There's that. But if I were a hardcore leftist Democrat lunatic, wouldn't I go subscribe to Netflix just to stick it to those conservatives?
I don't know. Didn't they cancel? They tried to cancel Netflix because of Dave Chappelle and other stuff going on?
Did. That's kind of what I'm driving at here. When it was something they didn't like, they threw a shit fit.
Not to the tune of $2.5 billion.
Right. Now, here's the question that I have. Who are these conservatives that are canceling this Netflix? Because obviously a lot of them have.
I don't know. Some of the other commentators that I listened to already said that they had canceled Netflix years ago.
Not just years ago, but specifically back in January of this year, there was a huge move on conservatives' parts to cancel Netflix. Anybody remember why? And by the way, this is why I have never watched that show or any other show on Netflix, because back in January, I canceled Netflix for this reason. Anybody remember?
It wasn't that, was that this year? The young girls that they were objectifying?
No, it wasn't that at all.
That was last year, I think.
Yeah, that was last year's outrage. No, there was a specific outrage this year that actually bothered me.
Okay.
And it caused me to cancel Netflix.
Was that when they had the NFL show? When they had an NFL game on there and it wasn't very good?
No. It's when it was announced that the CEO of Netflix had made a $7 million donation, personal donation, to Kamala Harris.
Oh, okay.
Which was, okay, look, it's his money. He can do with what he wants. But it also turned out that Netflix has a PAC. Let me say that again. Netflix has a PAC, a political action committee, which had made donations to political candidates, 100% of whom were leftist Democrats. Yeah. Not one dime, not one, to a moderate Republican, a conservative, not one. And I said at the time, look, you can do what you want. I don't care. But I don't watch enough Netflix to make it worth me giving you $21 a month to turn around and give to those folks. And that's when I canceled it. And as I understood it, a bunch of us conservatives, $15.4 billion worth, canceled Netflix back in January. Did they all go back so that they can cancel it again now? This is why boycotts don't work.
Yeah. I can't cancel, because my wife once finished Netflix, but then they came out with new material. So she's on her way to finishing it again. Well,
see, I'm in the same position with Disney, all right, because then there's this whole Disney element to this transgender agenda. I can't cancel Disney. You know why? Because it's part of my phone plan.
Well, there you go.
And I get ESPN with it, which means how do I watch my Philadelphia Flyer hockey games? On ESPN. So kind of stuck there. But it's not really costing me anything because it's part of my phone plan. So it's like, well, am I giving them money? Sure. But is it Am I ideologically deep enough to say, well, I'm not going to give you any more money because you give some of it to Disney? And if I canceled Disney, I would hear it from my son, my grandkids. Why can't we watch Disney anymore?
Well, but that's Hulu now, too, and FX.
Right. Yeah, and I have Hulu. The reason I have Hulu and the reason I do watch Hulu is because they have Married with Children, the whole series, and they have Archer. So that's what I'll watch. I don't care about the rest. I used to have Hulu streaming, the live stream stuff. But for my money, YouTube TV does a better job. So it's kind of like what I was saying before. I don't know why anybody's paying the FCC anything anymore for licenses. Why would you just stream this stuff? So back to my point is, why are all these conservatives canceling now? Didn't we all cancel back in January? So who's left to cancel? And if they're worth $625 billion, how are we helping here? I don't know. And even if Hamish and his show are not in production, there's another one coming down the pike. You know this, because somebody was paying to have ads on this, and somebody was paying to do this kind of show. So where does it all end up? Is it effective? Is it enough to actually do anything to cause Netflix to change? Based on history, I'm going to say no. Based on history, I'm going to say this is going to fall flat on its face, and a month from now, we'll be talking about something completely different, right? Because this will be forgotten, this will be moved on, and there'll be some other new outrage that we're gonna cancel things over, or scream about, or tweet about, or hashtag about, and then what? We're going to completely forget about Netflix, and I don't really see much sense in getting all that worked up about it, because I don't have Netflix anyway, because I canceled it back when real conservatives canceled Netflix is when I did it. Welcome back. I'm Dave.
I'm Rod.
So I don't know if you noticed or not, the government shut down.
It was like the Spanish Inquisition, Dave.
No one expected it?
I didn't expect it. All of a sudden, it was down. I mean, look, okay, well.
Anything change for you?
No.
So I know one person who's having let's just call it a conniption fit over the government being shut down. One person. And here's the thing that I don't get. He's a government employee. Mm-hmm. And my position on this remains the same as it was when Cammie was a government employee and they shut down. Who cares? They're already running ads on TV up here and radio up here, probably everywhere else, about how your bank, your Navy, Federal Credit Union, whatever, knows that you're a government employee. So your checks are good. We'll make you a bridge loan, a zero-interest bridge loan to cover, because they know you're going to get paid.
Yeah.
You're not going to lose your home. You're not going to lose nothing's going to change. You're going to get paid. Now, maybe you're going to have to pay it back to your bank or whatever, but you're not going to starve to death, and you are not going to be out on the street because of the government shutdown. So it's a ridiculous reaction to say,
as long as you manage money correctly, right? I mean,
well, there's that, but it's kind of like that. It's so I'm a little bemused by that. Always have been. I was in the Navy, I think it was 1990. I don't remember the year. It had to be 89 or 90 because it was before I got out, obviously. But the fiscal year ends on September 30th.
Yes.
And that year, September 30th was a Friday. October 1st was a Saturday. I could probably go back and look it up. But and so they canceled payday for the Navy, for the military, on October 30th. On September 30th. They canceled payday and shifted it one day to Saturday, October 1st. So we all had to come. This is back when you got paid by check, mm-hmm. Right? So we all had to go into the office. All had to go in on Saturday to get our paychecks because, and the chief that had to hand them all out was pissed off because now he's got to come in and hand off all the paychecks. And you know what their reason for this was?
What?
We saved like $1 billion by shifting it to the next fiscal year. By delaying payday, literally 1 minute, they saved $1 billion in one fiscal year. But of course, then they ran it into the next fiscal year. So
now the next fiscal year's over.
Right. Anyway, it was silly, and it's the same kind of thing with these government shutdowns. Now, this one, is it different this time? Because Trump was talking this morning about how he's going to use this shutdown to shrink government.
I think that's just leverage. I think he's using it as leverage to freak out the left.
And they're freaked out.
They are.
Because their messaging is so bad on this. Even the left in the media know that they're being gaslit on this one. Mm-hmm. In fact, are trying to get health care for illegal immigrants. And the problem you have right now is you keep saying you're not, but ... One of the leading news stories right now is about this superintendent of schools in Iowa. Mm-hmm. Turns out to have been an illegal immigrant who not only had guns, a high-paying job, and voted, thus putting pretty much a dagger into the heart of your entire narrative. Oh, I am collecting health care, and yeah, you can say, well, but that's just one guy. Does anybody believe it's just one guy?
One guy in a highly visible position.
Right. Does anybody actually believe that? Raise your hand.
No.
Not seeing any hands. So the left has this problem, and then they've got the Maxine Waters problem where she can't actually cogently string together a sentence that makes any sense, but she's the one they're putting out there. And you've got Republicans, Rick Scott from Florida, who are proposing a law to say no more shutdowns.
Well, why don't you just try passing a balanced budget?
Why don't you pass a budget? At this point, don't even try to balance it, just pass one.
Yeah.
We've been operating on this, but here's the thing. This whole thing is just political theater. I have long believed, and I have believed since they started this nonsense back in the 90s with this continuing resolution stuff, this is what they want. Mm-hmm. Both sides want this because any kind of permanent solution to this would be counterproductive to them. What would they talk about if it's a rhetorical question, I get it, but what would they talk about if they couldn't complain about the other side trying to cut the funding for the things that they want? Mm-hmm. And don't kid yourself. If this was reversed, it would be about Republicans holding out because they want more ships or more planes or more military aid. Mm-hmm. Or whatever. It's political theater. And this is something that I say all the time, Rod. What you believe about this shutdown says more about you than it does the actual issues involved. The actual issues involved are not that complicated, but the bottom line is the government is shut down and everybody's having a fit. Some people are having a fit. I don't happen to be one of them. In fact, I've barely noticed. In fact, one of the things I did notice was that the post office is still delivering mail.
Yeah.
Because the post office, you see, is not government. They're government employees, they're a government union, they're paid by the federal government, but they will stand there with their face and gaslight you and say, well, we're not a government. We're not government. Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
But the mail's still getting delivered, so.
Well, Dave, they're essential.
Are they? You say that. One of these weeks I'm going to do this. I'm going to collect all my mail for the entire week, and we're just going to sit here and go through it. Because I can tell you right now, in the past 10 days, I've gotten one piece of mail that was in any way, shape, or form even remotely essential. The rest of it was ads, credit card offers. Please, Dave, refi. Please refinance your home. I get those every day. I get at least 2 of those every day. You know why? Because I have a lot of equity in my home. And these people are desperate because they need money. They need me to buy the money. So they're like, please refi. I'm like, no. Actually, I said to one of them the other day, my mortgage company called me. We'd like you to refi. You have blah, 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 thousands.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you're going to give me 2.5% interest on it? Well, no. Then why would I buy more money? I need that. No. What are you, insane? You agreed to that mortgage rate back when I did refi. That's your problem, not mine. Would you be anyway? So the mail is not useful. Amazon uses their own trucks. UPS uses their own trucks. So I don't really need the postal service, quite frankly. In fact,
the postal service are going to have to start renting ad space on their trucks.
In some ways, it'd be better if we just said, you know what, privatize the whole thing.
Well, and if I was UPS, I'd buy ad space on it.
I would too. And then I'd open up a business where I drive around and deliver your flyers for you, your junk mail for you, because somebody's paying for that crap. And it's like spam. It's like spam emails. What do we used to say about spam emails? Nobody clicks on it except for the one person who makes it worth their while.
You'd be surprised.
Well, not just clicks on it, but I mean actually sends the Nigerian prince money.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
There's
smart people.
No, I know, but it makes it worth their while. So
it does.
For that. So why doesn't that work for junk mail, right? And here's what I predict. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here's the Dave Diamond official prediction for the end of the shutdown. There will be a bipartisan agreement to reopen the government for a limited amount of time. We're just going to get through X day. We'll get through Thanksgiving. We'll get through Christmas. We'll get through the New Year, whatever. And it'll be touted as this bipartisan agreement. The president will come out and tell us what a great job they did. Like the one they did back when they cut the budget by, what was it, 0.0007%. We got a cut in the budget. We got what we wanted. Are you kidding me?
And that's a cut in future spending.
Yes, and it really wasn't even a cut. It actually wasn't a cut in spending. It was a cut in the future growth of spending. So instead of increasing the budget 5%, we're going to increase it 4.999999998%. Yay us. Is it any wonder that we're not taking any of this seriously? Welcome back. I'm Rabbi Dave.
I am Friar Rod.
So in tragic news, he said with a smirk on his face.
Well, I mean, depending on your point of view.
Once upon a time, I did a thing called Fun with News on the radio show.
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably one of my favorite times of the week. And the whole thing with Fun with News came out of a story that we'd had about a man who punched an alligator that had grabbed his dog. In Florida, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And this big discussion about whether or not I would punch an alligator or a shark to save Jack, who was my dog at the time. And all of a sudden, people were sending me animal attack stories, animals eating people. And it just sort of evolved into what we called Fun with News, which was a blast. Fun with News was great.
It's kind of the precursor to WTF tried to be that, right?
It did. And because I've always tried to recapture it, but it doesn't work if it's not live radio. It just doesn't. Mm-hmm. And the beauty of Fun with News was we made a point of it always being real stories.
Yeah.
We didn't make up anything on that, unlike some people I could name. So here is a real story out of Arkansas. A 60-year-old man, the 60-year-old man from Missouri, which is right next to Arkansas,
mm-hmm.
was mauled to death at a campsite just 2 days after he sent his family, who apparently did not go camping with him. Some questions, does it not?
Yeah.
Honey, I need to get away from you. So I'm going to Arkansas to go camping.
I'm going to go drive Scenic Bridge.
Yes. So he goes to Arkansas and he's camping and he's sending his family pictures of a bear, a small black bear, around his campsite that's hanging around. Oh, isn't this cute? Isn't this cool? There's a bear around my campsite. 2 days later, The 60-year-old, the police called, his son called the police because they hadn't heard from him in 2 days. The Newton County Sheriff's Office went out and took a look and said, the bear, the campsite was abandoned with clear signs that something had gone wrong. The campsite had been disturbed and there was evidence of a struggle and injury, the Sheriff's Office said in a statement. There were also drag marks leading from the campground into the woods. The man's body was found several yards away with severe injuries. Wheeler said his office cannot definitively say that the man was killed by the bear until the autopsy is done. Then we could say that. But we know without a doubt that the bear was in the camp, and our victim and the injuries are absolutely consistent with a bear attack. Then he adds this.
Okay.
This is a highly unusual case.
That's it?
Well, I mean, how unusual is it? It's highly unusual, but how highly unusual, I ask? As it turns out, do you know how many people are killed by bears just in North America on an annual basis?
I've got no clue.
1.2 people per annum are killed in North America by bear attacks.
Okay.
Which means
this guy's over 50%.
Which means that the chance of me being killed by a bear are never zero. They're low, but they're never zero. Shark attacks kill 10 people worldwide every year. Wolf attacks kill 10 people. These are all more than bears. You ready?
Sure.
Lions and tigers and bears, oh my, kill 100 people a year.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, it gets better. Elephants, want to take a guess? 100.
They're not your friends.
Hippopotami. Now, I'm assuming these hippopotami are only killing people in Africa because it's pretty much where they are, right?
Yeah, I can't think of the last time I saw one floating around.
They kill 500 people a year. Alligators and crocodiles, which we do have in this country and are probably the number one reason I stay out of Florida. 1,000 people a year.
Okay.
Like crocodiles.
So the bears are getting a bad rap.
Well, it is a highly unusual event. And again, the chances of me being killed by a bear are low, but they're never zero. This is an important thing to keep in mind, okay? I can't emphasize that enough.
It's not an impossibility.
It's not an impossibility. It is something that I must, in fact, take into account in my day-to-day life. After crocodiles, you know what's next?
What?
Tapeworms.
Ugh. Oh.
Kill 2,000 people a year.
Boy, this has turned into a disgusting.
Something called a roundworm, Ascarius roundworm, 2,500. The freshwater snail kills 10,000 people a year.
Well, you know what? Wouldn't you see some of that in the news?
Where's it happening? If it's happening in Arkansas, probably not, because they got bigger things to worry about. Something called the assassin bug, which I didn't even bother to look up because I don't want to know. The assassin bug kills 10,000 people a year. This, by the way, all according to the World Atlas. The tsetse fly, sleeping illness, kills 10,000 people a year. Dogs, not wolves, dogs, Jack, 25,000 people per year.
That seems super high.
It does until you realize how many idiots in this country have pit bulls that they don't control. Snakes of all types, 50,000 a year. And human beings kill another 475,000 people per year.
Well, you know it's not on that list, Dave.
Well, we're not at the top yet, so.
Okay.
What's not on the list?
House cats.
Cats are not on the list.
There you go, people.
Cats really aren't going to kill you, and even if they do kill you, they're not going to talk.
They'd make it look like someone else did it.
Dog did it. Now, lions were on the list, but that's a little different. Number one is mosquitoes. Mosquitoes kill 1 million people a year.
Yeah.
Make sense?
It does.
Now, this man was eaten in Arkansas. He was a Missouri man. I have family from that area. My mother, of course, of blessed memory, is from Arkansas, which is my grandmother's favorite joke of all time. The only state mentioned in the Bible. Noah looked out the Arkansas. So why am I concerned about this, I hear you cry?
Why are you concerned about this, Dave? What's got your
I live in Silverdale, Washington. Silverdale, Washington is located in Kitsap County, which is on the northern end of the Kitsap Peninsula, on the western edge of the Puget Sound in the state of Washington. If you have ever been here, you know that this is a military area. There are multiple military bases, including the submarine base, which is 2.5 miles from here, which hosts somewhere between 10 and 12 submarines and all sorts of ancillary craft and all sorts of peoples. Further down, we have the Naval Hospital, where my wife works. Further north, we have the Indian River Magazine, which is where all the missiles are kept. Not the Trident missiles, the Tomahawks. And about 10 miles to the south of us is Puget Sound Naval Shipyard, which is an intermediate maintenance facility, which also is the home port of at least one aircraft carrier, nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, with a crew of somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 people. Plus, there are anywhere between 10 and 12 ships at any time in the maintenance facilities with their crews. Plus, there are shipyard personnel and all kinds of stuff. Point being that there are a whole hell of a lot of people here.
Mm-hmm.
You would, as you drove around this area, you would notice that there are forest-type areas. There's an area called Enetai that is a green belt that we have set aside, and the county has said absolutely no building in this, 3 square mile area because we want to preserve what this place once looked like. Because now, like most places in America, it is covered with strip malls and Burger Kings. The occasional, we're actually getting a Chick-fil-A.
Well, there you go.
A Chick-fil-A and a Panda Express.
Okay.
Express is supposed to open next month, and I am excited about that. And don't send me any emails about, when you can get real Chinese food. Because I want Beijing beef. That's why. And I happen to like Panda Express quite a bit. In fact, when I lived in Manteca, there was one within walking distance, and I was very happy about that. I've lived here now for a long time. I've lived in this house for 8 years.
Okay.
Prior to that, I lived here back in the 80s when I was stationed here. At one point, I had a double-wide trailer out in the woods, which was, 100 yards off the main road.
In Bear Country.
I have spent many nights in this area. And one of the things that I like to do, although it is difficult for me because it does create a great deal of pain, but one of the things I have decided in my life, Rod, is that, Princess, pain is life.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just going to have to deal with it. And so I walk. I try to walk for an hour a day. It's hard some days it's not. I have a beautiful neighborhood in which to walk. I can go down to the end of my street, turn right, go up just a slight hill out to the Chevron station, walk around that. We have this nice neighborhood that I used to be the president of the HOA of, and then I came to my senses and said, fuck this. And so I walk around the neighborhood. And I have a friend who lives at the far end of my neighborhood. In fact, she's not a close friend, but she happens to be dating one of my best friends.
Okay.
Who I was on the submarine with. And that's all I'm going to tell you about him, because if I told you what he does, you'd know who he was. And I don't want to do that. But anyway, we're very old friends. And she's dating him, and I think it's great. Her front door is exactly as the crow flies. Now, you can't get there as the crow flies, obviously, but because there's houses and stuff in the way. As the crow flies, from her front door to my front door is 400 yards. So I'm walking by her house. She has cameras. And every time I walk by her house, because she's a former police officer, she has cameras everywhere. She's constantly monitored. And so I always wave to say, hey, it's just me. Not a danger. And I always get a text or something that says, hey, nice to see you. Anyway, walking by her house a couple of weeks ago, and she has this white picket fence that runs along the greenbelt. And the white picket fence is utterly destroyed. And so a few days later, I said to her, hey, what happened to the fence? And she says to me, hey, watch this video. And it's a video of a bear busting through the fence. 400 yards from my front door at a location where I regularly walk past. Sometimes in the heat of the day, sometimes in the cool of the evening.
So the moral of this story, Dave, is that you just need to not walk alone, because you don't have to outrun the bear. You just have to outrun the person you're walking with.
I can't do that. I don't have a right knee. The moral of this story, Rod, is that it's very simple. The chances of Rabbi Dave being mauled and eaten by a bear are low, but even here in Silverdale, Washington, they are never zero. Like I needed anything else to worry about. I got bears in my backyard, which, by the way, butts up against the same greenbelt that her house backs up.
Send your comments and concern to WTF@thefrock.org.
On that note, I am very nervous, Rabbi Dave.
I am Friar Rod.
It's been a self-defense episode of
What the Frock?